Welcome to Which Side Do You Want, where we talk all things tennis. I'm your co-host, Ruffin Thornton, and I'll be joined by my good friend, James Skinner.
Unlike most tennis podcasts, we cover hot topics, from the lawns to the concrete, from the pros to the park, and all things in between. Welcome to Which Side Do You Want?
All right, welcome back, tennis and racket sport fans, to our podcast here at the wonderful studios of Another Wave Media. James and I, how you doing, James?
I'm doing all right, Ruffin. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good
Yes, sir.
This Sunday evening.
Yeah.
James and I are going to continue on our discussion about the US Hardcourt Swing with the Indian Wells and the Miami Open tournament coming up next week, where we're going to just kind of finish up this exciting point in time where we really focus on U.S. tennis, at least the two main tournaments, the fifth Grand Slam at the Indian Wells tournament,
right.
As well as one of my favorites, Miami Open down
Miami.
The fun place of Miami. So, Coach, how's your prep ready for this upcoming tennis season?
Oh, well, we're in the mix. We started this week. Yep. And
so how'd you do?
Well, we're 2-1 right now.
2-1. Congratulations.
2-1. Yep. So we got a little winning record right now. We'll see how that goes. We had a couple of good matches. We played, but then we ran into a buzzsaw Midlothian High School, and but they fought well. It was just, tale of two cities, and we weren't that city that day. But I was proud of the effort, and I told them just build on this and let's move forward. So. We're in the mix.
Yeah, as a coach, that's all you can.
That's all you can do. Put them out there and let them do their thing,
and let the chips fall where they may.
That's
Hopefully,
right.
the best players on your team win more so than they lose.
Exactly. But I told them losing is a learning experience.
Right.
I mean, they learn more from those losses than they ever learn from the wins. And I just take that back to us when we go to practice and rededicate ourselves. Look at where you made your mistakes.
Right.
Try to correct those mistakes and let's move forward.
Yeah. And that's all. Like I said, as a coach, that's all you can hope.
That's all you can hope for.
That's what I'm trying to get across to my student. We had our session yesterday, and she really started to get a feel for what it's going to be like
That's right.
during this week. She
It's
starts
no joke.
her matches later on this week, and I'm wishing her all the best of luck.
Yeah, we wish her luck too. All good.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's just jump into it. Right now, the only things that we got going on are our hardcourt swing tournaments with Indian Wells. The finals are being played as of this recording. So,
that's right. The men's final.
The men's finals are going on. The women's finals just finished up.
Concluded.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we'll just say right now, the women's final has two of the top players on the women's side right now.
Yes.
Elena Rybakina.
Yep.
And
is it Rybakina or Rybakina?
I should say
Rybakina.
And Ariana Sabalenka, who probably one of the hottest players on tour this year, especially since she's now a Grand Slam winner, winning her first at the Australian Open this year. So that's
all of the top players now have Grand Slam titles.
Right.
The top three definitely. They're rolling. They're rolling.
Top three women. We know
Swiatek has the Grand Slam title. Rybakina and Sabalenka.
Well, Rybakina is 3. Wait a minute, I missed that.
No, I'm saying that. She's 4. I'm sorry. She's going to be number 7 in the world after this victory today.
Right.
So you're right. She's not the top 3.
Right.
But she will be.
Yeah, I mean, she's getting there.
I'm sorry. Yeah, because she's 10th. I think she was 10th in the world. Right.
Yeah, and still, Jessica is still number 3.
Number 3, right. Jessica Pegula. Yeah, she's number 3. Yeah, my bad.
So, again, the women, they've done their work, and now the men are trying to figure out who's going to be this year's champion. So we're going to wish them luck. That's between our young gun, Carlos Alcaraz. And Danily Medvedev, the Russian.
The Russian,
the mad genius.
The mad genius, who is on a tear right now.
Absolutely. That dude is hot. He's hotter than hot.
I'm telling you, I watched his match against Tiafoe, and man, Tiafoe played his you-know-what off.
Right.
He did everything he could do.
Right.
It just seems that Medvedev just had an answer.
Yeah.
No matter what.
But let's just hold off.
We'll hold off.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, you got me. All right, let's not run a tangent.
So let's talk about some of the highlights of the Indian Wells tournament. So I'm going to give you the choice. Which side do you want, Coach? Do you want the men or the women to talk about?
Well, we can talk about the women.
Okay.
And just hats off to Rybakina. She played a very intelligent final.
Right.
She is, and she thinks she was 0-4 up to this point against Sabalenka, and she kept her composure.
Yep.
Sabalenka jumped off, got an early break in that first set, and she's Rybakina just kind of held her composure, waited her time, played intelligent tennis, got that break. And once she got the break, got the break back and got even, then that helped her to win that first set.
Yeah.
And when she won that first set, that was it. She never looked back. And Sabalenka, she has her ups and downs.
Sure.
And for all that time, we've talked about her before. With the talent she has is amazing. But just like anybody, you have those mental ups and downs. And I think she got in her head a little bit. And then she started having more errors, especially off that serve, which is up and down. It's like if she's serving well, she's flowing. But if there's a hiccup or something, that serve goes back a little bit, then she's not the same player because she's blasting serves like 112, 100, and then she drops down to like 90 and 87. So, it's
like you said.
Yeah, like we all do. Yeah, it's a roller coaster. And I can empathize because, man, my serve, as you know, has been up and down. I'm still worried. It's still work in progress. So I feel for her, in those moments. But, once again, you can't take anything away from Rybakina. She just held it down. She's young, man. I think, was she 20?
Yeah.
So her future. I mean, and also Sabalenka, they're both of them, because she's not that much older.
No, well, I think Rybakina is 23 and Sabalenka is 24.
Oh, okay. So I didn't think I thought she was like 20, but she's a little older. Yeah. Okay. All right. But still very young in tennis years. They're still young and they're in their prime.
Right.
And they put on a great show. I think that they represent definitely there'll be two battling for other titles this year without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
We have there's a wellspring of strong young talent on the women's side coming up. You're going to talk about a couple of them that've come up. I would just say that for me, I think that it's going to determine. All these women are just playing well.
Yeah,
it's just who's going to be there mentally to bring it, who can hang in there, through the big hits. And so it was an enjoyable finals to watch. And I'm looking forward to these two ladies playing again in the future.
Oh, sure. They're going to be playing.
Yeah, they're going to be battling. They had a little funny. It was at the award ceremony. While Rybakina was up there talking about, congratulating everybody, and Sabalenka's behind her licking her tongue out. Then she told her, she said, it's funny. It wasn't, and people were making kind of jeering, but they don't realize that these pros, these young people have known each other for years, since they were juniors. They probably practiced with each other. There's like a community within the WTA, just like there's a community within the ATP of these players. And so like I said, we talked about that elite class of tennis players that they've been on the ITF circuit since they were 12, 13, and they've known each other forever. They played each other. And so that banter between them, it wasn't, I think it was, to me, it was just
them just being them.
Being them, joking with each other. And
outside of the fact that there were hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line.
Yes.
The fact that there was a crowd watching them, they probably would have played this match and the results could have been a little bit different, and they still would have felt the same about their,
without a doubt. They're talented. Today it was just Rybakina's day.
Right.
If they play 2 weeks from now, it would be a different, and their skill level is just who can hold it down. And here's the other thing: these players, when they play each other, they know each other's game.
Yeah,
they know they've done their homework. And you're talking about players who have an incredible tennis acumen.
Yeah.
I mean, their understanding of the game and of how to respond in certain circumstances is just unparalleled. And so when they go out there, they have a game plan.
Yeah.
And if they're really good, they have a backup game plan too. In case number one doesn't work, they can go to this, and they know how to attack people, and they look for tendencies, and they study, and they know.
Yeah.
And so when they come in with each other and they make a comment like she did, oh, she's licking her tongue, to them it's fun. I've known her forever. She knows she's like this. And so that was funny to me. But looking forward to seeing what both of these ladies do in Miami. And everybody's coming. So I would just say that they finished off, I think, the better player of this tournament. The biggest surprise to me, I think, was when she took out Swiatek. And the way she took her out. But once again, folks, we always say Swiatek is still, to me, the best player in the world. However, if you're going to beat her,
you gotta go. You gotta bring it.
You gotta bring it. You know, what did Ric Flair say? In order to beat a man, you gotta beat the man. In order to beat a woman, you gotta beat the woman. And she beat the woman.
Right.
Let's just say 6'2", 6'2" speaks for itself.
Absolutely.
I know you had you were telling me something interesting about how Swiatek responded.
At the after the match, the players always get that interview that they have to do as part of their responsibilities, win, lose, or draw. And directly after the match, they comment, the interviewers hit her up and ask her how she felt. And she did the right thing. She congratulated her opponent, saying that she was a better player. But afterwards, when they came back, and she made some additional comments suggesting that it was more her play that was the result of her opponent winning, Rybakina, versus Rybakina's actual play. Okay. And that's not really always true.
Okay, we watched that match.
Right.
It wasn't just her play.
Right.
It was Rybakina's play too. She took it to her and she beat her, and I think she got in her head. Yeah. See, to me, as good as Swiatek is, every time she loses because somebody took it to her and held the ground, and then then Swiatek gets, and she's looking at her box and she's yelling. She's frustrated because she's so used to being the front runner. Mm-hmm. And if somebody takes that away from her and she can't get it back, she can't get it in, and they hold their ground, but anyway, that was funny. When you made that comment, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's what you say. All right, but she's going to come back strong. She's another one too, man. Her resiliency, boy. She gets a loss. She bounced back.
She does.
Swinging.
But she's been on record saying that, not every match, and I can understand this. We've kind of hinted at this in previous podcasts, that it's the tour is a grind.
Yes, it is.
So you don't always have your A game, nor are you feeling the greatest.
Right,
so,
right.
And she's, like I said, she's already said that, I don't always feel like I'm at my best when I come out to play. But, the results of recent have been contrary to that statement. Because,
but I respect her saying that. Right. I respect her saying that because I think a lot of players are feeling that. And I just feel that for them to actually express that, because they want to give that austere that, I'm great and I know I'm great and I'm going to always play well. But it is pressure, man. It's incredible pressure.
And when you have that target on your back, when you are the top player, you always have to be on your A game. This is what, the top players of our generation and prior to had to really understand, the Novaks, the Nadals, the Rogers, the Serenas.
Exactly.
Even before that, Andre Agassi.
Oh, Agassi, Pete Sampras,
no, I'm talking about on the women's side.
On the women's side.
The dominant player.
You had Chris Everett, you had Martina Navratilova going back that far, even farther.
No, in the 90s.
Close. In the 90s.
Andre's wife.
Steffi Graf.
Steffi. They may have had superior talent, but you don't always get out of the bed saying, I want to really beat the crap out of somebody this week.
And Steffi had it, and that's amazing because she'll always have that 86 year, which was phenomenal. She couldn't be beat, man. She didn't, but still, in fact, there was a lot of pressure on there. And then all that stuff with her dad and all that stuff, it's like but still she was able to channel it and still play some incredible tennis. I'll never forget that. I was just like,
Yeah, but I mean, again, when you're the top player and you have that target on your back, it is incredibly tough to get up every single day and be at your best. And,
that's true.
Swiatek has already said, then I don't always play my best. So,
right.
You have to appreciate that she can recognize that and still bring whatever she has for that day and play some of her best tennis.
But I just, for the common tennis player, regular tennis player, for her to not be at her best means instead of her beating you 6-0, 6-2, she beat you 6-4, 6-3. She was having a horrible day.
Yeah, I know.
I was out there almost an hour.
She had
playing this opponent.
2 double faults instead of her normal one.
That's right.
So
horrible. So it's relative, but however, it's still very important. I don't mean to make light of that because we have a lot of young players out there who are going through some stuff, and it's tough. And people, when we watch a tennis tournament at the end and that champion goes out and they're an independent business agency within themselves. And when they thank their team, these are people on their payroll.
Yeah.
All right. These are people who their lives, their everything is generated on this person winning. So they're doing their job to get him or her up to peak performance so that they can perform well at these Grand Slam not just Grand Slams, but every tournament that they play in, so that they can get those points, so they can get that ranking, so they can get those endorsements, so they can get that money. Right. It's about getting that paper. And so once they do that, they thank the box. The box has done everything in their power to get them to get on that stage. That's their whole thing, is to get them in that championship, to get them as far into that tournament as they can, to make as much money as they can so they can get paid.
Right.
I mean, they believe in that player too. You're gonna you're putting everything on the line. You're traveling with them. Of course, usually they cover their expenses and all of that, but still their job is to make you the best that you can be.
Sure.
And so it's important, man. That's a lot of pressure on a young person. You're 19, 20, or 21 years old, and you got all these grown people that depend on you, not to mention family, probably connections and that sort of thing. Especially if you got a parent that's also in that box, that's a coach or an advisor or something. That's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. Well, again, outside of that, we're always amazed that they bring their best.
Always,
they are.
They're amazing.
Did you have any surprises on the women's side?
This Swiatek getting blown out, that was my biggest surprise. I don't know. To me, things kind of fell. You had some players. I was hoping to see a couple of Americans do a little better. I was surprised that of course, golf we still waiting on. She played well, but she ran into a buzzsaw.
Buzzsaw in Sabalenka.
And once again, though, I still feel, because she is still so young and she is still very talented.
She will be getting out of her teens this year.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm just saying that I think that she's still learning. I still think her future is still in front of her. You know what I'm saying? And then I just, for her, I feel like this is another learning process. They're gonna go back. She's got a good team behind her. I think, I think I like the influence her father has. He's in there, but he's not, I don't know if she's still with Glue or not. I don't know if she's still in there. I think he's so busy now. It's hard to get anybody to get with this guy still, I think, this is a learning experience. So let's see what happens in Miami. And then when she goes to Europe, let's see what happens to her. But I still think she's got some things going on. I was hoping to see her, I was hoping and I predict that she would get to the semifinals is what I thought, would have been her look based on who she was playing. So I was kind of surprised. But she ran into a buzzsaw. And it was tough. That was a tough match. She fought, but still few things she's learning, and as she processes herself in this game, I think she'll get there.
Right.
Then thought that hoping Pegula would have done a little better, gotten since she's represent that number 3 seed, man. She's the 3rd seed woman in the world. So now theoretically, it of course it doesn't work that way, but she's supposed to be getting into, on a semi-quasi regular basis into the quarters.
Right. Well, but you can't really fault
there.
Jessica's results, because she just ran into a player that just got hot at the right time.
Yeah,
and not specifically, she lost to Petra Kvitova in the fourth round.
Right.
And that was a good match up until, it was a good match. She lost in the third set tiebreak. You can't really fault her on that.
Right. I agree. I'm not saying that I still feel like she's an incredible talent. She's a hardworking player.
Right.
And I think she's also one that will make adjustments, here. I don't know. And maybe I'm overlooking the fact that the American players that play in the United States, there's an added pressure. You got the whole crowd behind you cheering you on and want you to do well. You want to do well. But then again, you got a player on the other side of that court trying to take you out.
Yeah, but so that's the advantage of being an American player in an American tournament, sure. But I don't see it as personally having any more added pressure. I just think that you have the crowd who's rooting for you, just like the European players in France and
but some
Britain,
players,
Spain, wherever.
And I agree with that, Ruffin, but I also think that some players take it in a different way. Some players thrive on it,
sure,
and it builds them up. But then some players, it does. It's too much. You want to win so bad, and now you become afraid to lose. And when you see a player that's afraid to lose, then they become cautious. They stop playing loose and free. Every little mistake becomes becomes multiplied and it builds up, and you not playing your game, and then and these players, man, they're so smart. They sense that. They can sense that fear. They can sense that, that frustration. And that's why they always tell you, man, don't show your emotions on the courts. Now, some players do, and it doesn't matter. But, because they can pick on that, and then they say, okay, all right, this person, I'm ready to, I'm going to attack even more. I'm going to do whatever, So, so I don't want to, I want to see some Americans do well,
there's nothing wrong with
and
that.
And they are doing well. Don't get me wrong. They are doing well. Again, and this was just one tournament. It's going to be a long season, and they're going to come back without a doubt. They're going to have some remarkable, I got a feeling this summer, some of them are going to really make some remarkable.
Yeah, but it's so competitive on both the men's and the women's side, but specifically the women's side. The Americans right now have, they've got this resurgence of top American women players. Of course, Coco and Jessica are right now leading the way, but you've got the resurgence of Sophia Kenin coming back after her injuries. Of course, Madison and Danielle are still stalwarts at the top of the rankings. The other players, Anisimova, Sloane, Shelby Rogers, some of the other American players that we all root for, sure.
Right.
They're gonna have their results, but at the end of the day, we can't. There's no Serena Williams out there who we can expect to win.
Right.
Waving the American flag. Yeah. I like the fact that the more players that you have that are representing your country, the more likelihood that you're going to have better results with American players. But that doesn't mean that you can expect any of these players to actually win any dominate. Particular tournament.
Right.
But again, you can root for them just as hard. But again, at the end of the day, all of these other players, they're just as hungry, if not more. They're just as talented. And I'm not saying that we don't root for them. It's the reality is it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. And the women are going to fight and scrap for every little dollar that they can win.
Yep. They out there fighting too. That's without a doubt.
But since we've been talking about the American players, I'd like to just mention, we still had some good results with a lot of those players. Of course, we had our bad results. Danielle Collins, I just mentioned, she didn't have the greatest tournament. She lost in her first match as well. Madison had an injury.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what that was. But, speaking of Madison Keys specifically, we like to, give Madison a shout out on her engagement. So we congratulate her on that.
Like LeBron James said, it's about damn time.
It's about damn time.
She and Frantangelo, they've been together for a long time. So good for them, man. I wish them all the best.
Yes.
All the best.
Hoping they have a happy, long life together.
I'm telling you, they have a kid, boy, that kid's going to have some great tennis genes.
But, that doesn't always
no, it doesn't. I'm just saying he's got the genes.
He's got the genes.
Hey, he's got the genes.
But and also, some other players that we kind of forget about. Shelby Rogers.
Yeah.
She actually won her first round match after struggling a little bit, coming back from some injuries. And Madison Bringle. She still, she had to change her game a little bit after some shoulder injuries, and her serve is not the same as when she came on tour, but at least she's out there playing, and she's one of those players that is just going to be out there making it difficult for whoever her opponent is. So,
that's true.
And she got past the first round, which means that
one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Yeah, the recovery is one step at a time, and you get the confidence. You get feeling good about. Sometimes you come back from that injury, you're still feeling a little leery. Is it going to pop up again? And but you take one step at a time. Right. So for these players, that maybe that first or second round win is major. Yeah, because hey, you're back, okay, and then the next tournament you'll do a little better, and then who knows? You're gonna pop up and. So so happy for all those players, and it's a grind, man. It's like you said earlier, it's a total grind, and it's physically demanding on your body. Your body, you are only as good as your body's going to allow you to be. And for these women, I mean, they put themselves, and the men, it is hard. Yes, and so that's why the physios and all these people get paid well, because they're the ones keeping you on that court. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So, but again, we're gonna keep it moving. Let's move on to the men's side. Oh, yeah. So, I'll handle the men's side. So it was nice to see, since we're talking about resurgence of players, it was nice to see a resurgence of the old stalwarts. Those other,
oh man, you got some OGs. You had some OGs that represented
the big three that had some good showings at this tournament. Mm-hmm. We'll start out with Andy Murray. Yep. He took out a couple of players. Yeah. He beat his I forgot who he beat in the first round, but he had three. He lost in the third round this year, where he lost to his fellow Brit Jack Draper.
The young gun. Yeah, gun. Who's the future
future of Britain tennis. Yeah. But still, it's good to see Andy win two more matches. Yeah. We talked about this in the past. We weren't thinking that he was, his career was done. We weren't thinking he was going to ever be at this level again. Mm-hmm. But, he's showing that he's got that resolve.
Yeah. And he's playing healthy. It's like that. That's the thing. We just talked about that. Right. I mean, that playing in pain is tough, man. It's hard to be yourself and play the way. Yeah.
And another old school Grand Slam winner that was playing well during the era of the big three, Stan Wawrinka.
Yep.
He came out and had a nice second round match, surprising one of the young guns in Holger Rune. I'm sorry.
Holger Rune.
So he took him out in 3 sets, which was pretty good. And then he fell to another young player in Yannick Sinner in the next round.
Sinner was,
and Sinner, who had an amazing tournament.
Gosh.
He was taking out everybody.
That match, his match with Taylor Fritz.
That was a really good match.
A slugfest. Yes. It was a slugfest. And I mean, and everybody if you watched that match, and I'm sure most of y'all did, because y'all are tennis nerds like we are. Right. I'm just telling you, I've just never seen people just go at each other, and it was just pounding each other, boom, boom. And to Sinner's credit, man, he just hung in there, and it was just like, and I know Taylor Fritz was, he's the defending champion, but he went down like a defending champion. Right. He went down swinging.
He went down swinging. You could see the kind of the difference in their games where it looked like Sinner's backhand, especially down the line, which actually won that match for him, was a little bit better. But
because those cross-court exchanges, when they get into those cross-court exchanges, the one who can consistently cut that down the line shot, when you get pulled that player wide, that's where you're
gonna make your money.
That's where you make your money, and it's hard to do. Yeah, that's why you'll see them hit cross court like 5 or 6. They're waiting for that opportunity though. They're waiting, trying to set it up, get it right, boom,
take their chances.
But that was a slugfest, man.
That was
it was brutal. Great tennis though. Great tennis. Yeah.
And another player from our old school days, or at least over the last 10 years, that had a good showing, Adrian Manarino, who was supposed to be retiring, but he ended up actually having a good showing. He got through the first round, and got into the second round before he lost.
Mannarino,
he's one of those players you just don't really want to see in the draw.
Don't want to play him.
Yeah.
He's just, he's not going to overpower you with power or nothing like that, but he is an extremely athletic tennis player, smart counterpuncher who, he can keep in a rally, and he's smart enough. He can break your game down, and he knows when to hit and strike, and he's just patient. He sits back there and he'll rally until he finds that opening, and bam. And then before you know it, you're like, how am I losing it? Hey, you're losing it. He's got a lot of good players' names notched on his belt.
Oh, yeah.
He's taking out the little ball guy.
Hit you with guile.
Yeah, he does,
I'm like,
man.
how did he come up with that angle? Where'd that power come from? I know it. And then he hit you with the soft shots and the touch and throwing the pace off and then speeding it up.
But he's French. He's French, man.
So he's going to play.
That French flair. They're the type of players. They're always fun to watch the French players play because they bring that flair. They bring something extra. Outside
of Mannarino, the one player on the men's side that really had for me the biggest surprise was Christian Garon. Not Garon. Garin. He qualified, and he got all the way to the fourth round before falling to Alejandro Davinovich Fokina.
Fokina.
And that was a good match. So that was a really good showing for
the
him.
Spaniard.
So that was a bit of a surprise, but outside of that, the tournament went as I expected.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about some of the American players. We were discussing Taylor Fritz. Started out with
let's talk about Francis. I think we should let's go with Francis now because he was the last American standing.
He ran into
the bus.
One of the finalists that's playing now in Medvedev. And that's a tough matchup for Francis as well because Medvedev is a literal backboard.
He is. He really is.
He can handle his power.
But it's amazing.
He's just as athletic and that length.
Yes, that's it. He got 6'6" frame that he can stretch, and he can twist his body in ways to get shots. He can always get a racket on the ball, and when he doesn't just plop it back. He gets a racket on the ball and angles it down the line. He gets it and chips it cross court. He gets it and does something
with that ball.
And it's just like he as he plays, he seems like he's always playing maybe 1 or 2 points ahead of his opponent. He's waiting for you to the mad genius. And like I said, man, Francis played his butt off, man. Francis, he had he had his chances in the first set. In the first set, he had a chance if he could have broken Medvedev at that 5-4 point, he'd have won that first set. And Medvedev just came back like okay, you lift. I'm gonna have to lift my game up again. Okay, I'm gonna lift it up again.
That's why he's a Grand Slam winner too.
So. But Francis fought, man, and held off match points in that second set. Came back, but it's just no matter what he did, there was just some really ridiculous shots that Medvedev was hitting that Francis just, at one point, he walked across court and he just threw the ball, hit the ball at him. He was like, man, I'm sick of you.
That's when it's like, okay, this is going to be a tough day.
Yeah, and he took, it's like, hey, it's going to be a tough day at the office, and I'm doing everything I can do. And at the end, he can walk off the court. I mean, you're disappointed you didn't win. That would have been a phenomenal final for him to make. But he can walk off the court saying, I did my best. I did everything I could do. He was just a little better today.
And you think about it, the conditions of the dry desert were probably more in line with Medvedev's game than, say, at Miami, where I think Francis should have a bit of an advantage when you think about the windy conditions, a little bit more humidity, where the ball's going to be a little bit tougher to massage and get through the air. But, we'll see. He's probably going to have a good draw. The men's draw hadn't come out on the Miami Open yet.
Right.
But it has come out on the women's side, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
And we also need to give some love to the other top American that was in the tournament right now, Tommy Paul. We forget about him.
I know it, man.
Tommy's been playing some real good ball.
Tommy to do number win matches.
Months.
Yeah. But I'm happy for him because he's finally, he's showing that promise that he had as a junior. He was like, people don't realize, remember, he was like one of the top juniors in the world and American, and everybody expect all these great things. And it just didn't, his ship didn't sail as fast as everyone else's did. And he had some injury issues too. A lot of things going on. Yeah. But I'm glad to see him coming up there. He's extremely talented player.
Oh, sure.
but and it's good to see him making some inroads. And I expect to see him do. He's going to get a few scalps this year too.
Of course. He had a tough one here.
Yeah,
he almost took out Canada's FAA. Felix.
Aliaja
Asim, that 7-6 third set tiebreaker is not saying that you didn't show up.
That's right. It was a point here, a point there. That was it. A mini break here. And that's all. And that's one point, especially in a tiebreaker. Yeah. Man. I mean, it's just one point here.
At that point, it's a coin toss.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
But the Americans again, just like on the women's side, they did their thing. We have to be proud of the fact that a lot more men as well as women are doing well. And of course, we want them to do well in the American tournaments like the Hardcourt Swing here. And then, of course, later on in the US Open Series this summer, culminating with the US Open. But not everybody's going to win the tournament.
No.
The final two are making that decision right now between Alcaraz and Medvedev.
And my daughter had to bring a point to me where I was saying, I was like, this, I said, man, I'm just be glad when an American can play. And she's like, she looked at me and she was just like, okay, well, obviously Americans are not good tennis players, because she said, because they don't seem to be winning like the European players. And then I had to stop and realize that my zeal for wanting Americans to win is based on the fact that I'm old enough to remember when we did win consistently.
And dominant.
For my daughter, they don't know about that. She doesn't know who Pete Sampras was. No. She doesn't know Andre Agassi. It means nothing to her because they were retired right around the time she was born.
Well, that's on the men's side.
On the men's side. And even on the women's side, she has no reference to a Chris. Now, she does know Serena Williams and Venus Williams. Okay. Right. And that was it. But that's her reference point. So, and that even then, they were midway through their careers before she was old enough to know, but she didn't know them. But for us, I think younger players, they're like, okay.
They don't know. But
they don't have that reference.
Not only do they not have that reference, they don't have that reverence. They don't, unless the name is big enough for them to recognize it. Right. This is more indicative of the climate that we're in right now.
Sure.
Young people today have what interests them, and that's all they stick to.
That's true.
That and social media. So it's a little different.
Yeah.
And tennis is still one of those, we talked about this in the past, one of those elitist sports that doesn't always make it on the cover of ESPN.
Reach out. Yeah, that's true. But anyway, but we'll get there. And I see we have some young American players. Ben Shelton, he had a great match. He had a great little tournament. Taylor Fritz, took that first set off of him. Mm-hmm. And I think what he did, he established the fact that, what? I'm going to be here. Right. I'm going to be here. And he went out there. To me, I love watching him play because he didn't have any fear.
Yeah.
He goes out there and he's got that, I'm trying to take you out. I don't really care who you are. I don't care what your name is. I'm going to play my game. Yeah. I'm going to blast this big serve, this big lefty serve.
Big lefty serve.
And I'm going to give you fits. And that first set he gave Taylor fits. Yeah. But, Taylor being the KG veteran, he, hung in there, waited his time, bid his time. And then I think Ben Shelton just kind of, burned himself. He was tired toward the end. It was intense first set and it was intense second set. Taylor just, being a veteran and understanding. And so hopefully that's a great learning experience for him.
Sure.
But he is going to be a player to be reckoned with.
I agree with that. Ben has that, he's got some tendencies that remind you of other great players. Not only the fact that he's a lefty, he has some qualities like a Rafael Nadal. He has an air about him that if he does do great things, he has the ability. It looks like he may have the ability to bring more people to the sport of tennis, at least to watch.
Without a doubt.
Like the great players.
And then we talk about this, that factor bringing in these young players, and then he's a player of color too. I know that's not going to hurt him.
Yeah.
And he's already got the New Balance endorsement, and I know New Balance is paying him.
Oh, of course.
So we don't know, but his he could be one of those transcendent players. You know, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does in these Grand Slams this summer. And boy, if he makes any headway when he comes to New York, it's gonna be on.
He's gonna be a hard catch.
Yeah, it's gonna be on. It's gonna be on like popcorn.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, again, with the men's finalists playing right now at the time of this recording, we'll have to wait and see and maybe talk about that in our next podcast.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing too, Ruffin, we talked about this, is that the betting odds is on Alcaraz.
Oh, yeah.
And to win. You said you understand that. And I think I could justify him being a favorite, and I think it's going to be an incredible match. And if there's anybody he's
a higher ranked player right now.
And he is the one person that, right now at this point, his game could deal with with Medvedev. He is quick, fast on his feet. He anticipates shots like I ain't never seen anybody.
Right. He's a shot maker.
He's a shot maker. Right. Yes, he is. And he's not intimidated by the crowd. No. He thrives on that.
Right.
That's what amazes me so much about this kid who is 19? Yeah. Is that he is not intimidated. He gets the crowd lifting up. Hey, I want to hear you. All of that stuff, man. It's that modern game, and so we'll see. It's going to be an interesting final.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we won't be able to find out.
We'll
the
find
results
out
until after this podcast.
That's right. So we can only speculate at this point.
Yeah,
but
again, we're missing. I wish we could at least see it, but we'll see the results and talk about it next time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about briefly the upcoming second hardcourt swing.
Just before we jump in there, I just want to give a shout out to the men's doubles champions, and that was Ebden and Bopana.
Bohanna.
Man, Bopana, 43 years old, man.
Still winning them.
This cat, man. And so I just want to throw that shout out. I was just, 43 years old, and he wins. He's got a 1,000 doubles championship, one of many. Now, people don't realize, one time he and, I can't remember his countrymen. They were one of the top doubles teams in the world for a while, and all they did was win. They got a lot of trophies and stuff. So he's been out, but it was great to see him come back and they get this title, man. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't even think about the doubles this time, but
and then of course on the women's side, on women's side, of course it was Siniakova and Krejcikova. Yeah,
again, they were the number one seed. Yeah. Even though it's so funny because when I look at the rankings of both men's and women's players, and you see the doubles rankings as well, you'll see that Pegula and Coco are number 2 and 3 in the world. Yet they are the number 2 seeded team in the world, which I'm trying to figure that out because we'll have to come back to that.
We'll talk about that.
But we'll
but they're like a machine, man. They're like a machine.
Krejcikova,
they're a machine.
We'll tip our hats to them because they won another thousands Indian Wells tournament.
They won every Grand Slam title. They won every.
They're going to make a living off of being doubles like.
Without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. And Krejcikova, she got some game in the singles too.
Yeah, she does.
And
Siniakova is trying to.
She's trying. She gets in there every now and then, but she. But anyway, like you said, they'll make a good living just winning doubles.
Winning doubles players. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's be brief about the Miami Open. So the big elephant in the room on the men's side, as of this recording, Novak Djokovic has again been denied entry to the US Open. I'm sorry, to the United States, not the US Open, but to the United States. So that means he can't play in the second half of the US Hardcourt Swing, the Miami Open.
Right.
So I know there have been a couple of political figures trying to get him exemptions.
Yeah.
And, rightly so, he's a crowd favorite.
Sure.
People have their views about whether or not he deserves to play in it. But again, we can't bend our rules for one player, whether and regardless of whether we like him or not. At the end of the day, the United States says you can't play if you can't come into the country unless you are in you've been vaccinated or have proof. And I don't think that's unfair. And certainly Novak, even though it's disappointing for him in his camp, I don't think that he's going to miss a meal because of it. So,
no, he's okay.
No, yeah, he's okay. Yeah. But that's the elephant in the room. But as of this recording, the men's draw still hadn't come out. They have done the women's draw for the Miami Open, so we can talk about just briefly one of the more intriguing first round matchups, which I saw, which was Emma Raducanu, Grand Slam winner, will be playing in the first round Bianca Andreescu,
the Canadian
US Open winner. So two US Open champions from the past will be playing in the first round match down in Miami. So that ought to be pretty good. But I wish I haven't been to the Miami Open in a few years, and that's been one of the more exciting outside of the US Open tournaments for me to go to. So I wish I could get down there. It's always wonderfully warm and exciting.
Oh, it's a great tournament. Now, like I said, you've been since they've moved to Hard Rock.
Right.
I have not, because last time I was there was when it was still on Key Biscayne Island. But I hope to get there soon. Maybe not this year, but next year I plan to be there and check it out and see for myself what it's all
great.
about.
It's always fun.
You know it. Yeah.
Do you have anything for this week in tennis in this segment? Well,
I don't have nothing so much. I will tell you this week in tennis. It's not really a this week in tennis. It's just something of note. The Indian Wells tournament, of course, is an ITF event.
Right.
And not only do they have the professionals playing, but they have a junior tennis event as well. So you have the top junior tennis players from around the world also playing in this tournament. And I just wanted to recognize, for a specific reason, the boys doubles champions was the team of Jaeger Leach and Joseph Oyabog Jr.
Say that 3 times fast.
I think it's Oyabog Jr.
Oyabog. Okay.
And the reason, first of all, of course, we know that Jaeger Leach is the son of Lindsay Davenport and John Leach, right? I think and so he's this young up-and-coming junior player, American. I think he's about 14 or 15 years old. Extremely talented and doing very well, moving up. And so that's of note. So he's got that lineage, but his partner, Joseph Oyabog Jr., is the son of a Cameroon tennis player. I think Oyabog now Jr. has American citizenship, or is an American player, but his father is in the Cameroons who has started this program. And what I want to do is I want to tell people, if you go, he has a website, and I think it's OTA, Oyabog Tennis Academy. It's in Cameroons. And you can go in there. I think he has Instagram and everything. But it's just phenomenal what he's done to develop a tennis program in the Cameroons to try to get tennis growing through the children. Of course, we knew the first time I ever heard about the Cameroons was because of...
of course, our favorite French
player,
Yannick Noah.
Noah, yeah. That's what I first from the Cameroons. And I remember they said Arthur Ashe went over there doing a tennis exhibition or something and saw this kid playing with a homemade wooden bat and saw a homemade wooden paddle. And he saw this talent and said, hey, and couldn't do anything. The United States was been tough. He said, well, you're Cameroon and your French is your language, but we go to Paris. And the French Tennis Federation took him on, and the rest is history. Yeah. But anyway, he has started his program. Literally, he built this up, and it's like he opened up this area in the back of a building and put a net up in the middle and just invited the kids to come. And he got donations of equipment and that sort of thing. And now it has developed into one of the biggest tennis programs. They're developing these children and you got these nice courts and everything. And he's really got this program off the ground. And I was just, when I saw the name, I recognized the name Oyabog, but I didn't remember. And then Junior, and then when I looked and I said, oh man, that's it. He had played tennis for a while, and I think he was a Davis Cup player for Cameroon, I think, and they were in that lower tier was, they weren't in that top flight, but they were always.
They weren't one of the top teams.
Yeah. And so that's just something I just recognize his son, congratulate his son and Lindsey Davenport's son, Jaeger, 2 Americans we're going to look for in the future, 2 young juniors who won a big title. They beat all of the top seeds, I think, to win that tournament, and congratulations to them. But also, hope that his father can get that program off the ground. I feel like Africa is one of those sleeping giants. I mean, because they've played tennis for a while, and they've had some great. We've had a few African champions, and of course, the most notable one right now is Arms Jabeur, who is really, who's taken upon herself to try to spread, tennis, and but also, Nduka Odozor. I remember the Nigerian who played big serving, so we're, there's a lot of. Especially in Nigeria and places like that where they played a lot of tennis. Northern Africa.
And not just
Cameroon, as they also, have had players. And so we're hoping that this will inspire these programs like his will start producing champions. And so I thought that was something to note when I saw that. I was like, wow, I didn't know about his academy. Didn't know about he was developing these young players and growing the game. Yeah.
So that's good to know that. As usual, you're always expanding our knowledge in some things that we may not have been quite aware of.
Well, it's just amazing what you can do, so hopefully, and I'm sure some of these players we'll start seeing these players coming in, getting scholarships to universities and playing, and maybe at some point we'll see some of them in the pro ranks,
Sure.
And his son looks like, he could be one of those ones possibly.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, cool. Well, again, as always, thank you for that tidbit. So I guess this is where we'll call it an evening for our podcast this year. Again, we're waiting on the results of Indian Wells between Alcaraz and Medvedev. And we look forward to the next time we're behind the mic. So again,
without a doubt,
tennis fans and racket sport fans, because we all, I'm starting to say racket sports fans because we want to start talking about some of the other heavily played racket sports like pickleball. We hope to have a pickleball episode soon. We want to include everybody that's swinging a racket, whether it be tennis, racquetball, pickleball, even badminton, ping pong. Because ping pong is a sport too. So,
that's right. Yeah.
We hope that you get some things from our podcast. And,
that's right.
We always like for you to comment and talk about what you see, what you like, what you don't like. And let us know,
Sure.
And as James and I always say, if anything, if there's something that you liked, like I said, let us know. Hit us up on our social media, which will be down here at the bottom.
And I always say, if something you didn't like,
right,
let us know that too. Just communicate with us. Let us know what you're thinking and what you would like to hear or talk about or discuss. Man, we love to have for y'all to be interactive with us in that respect. So as we always like to say, go out and hit a tennis. And go out and play some tennis. It's getting warm, people.
Yes, this is the time.
This is the time for tennis.
Right.
All right.
All right,
Take
Coach.
care, man. All right.